Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Magic Miller here. I got a video for you guys today. I want to show you a video, also followed up by an article from a business article that I pulled up to show you what the video is talking about is becoming a reality. So let's just get right into it, guys. The video I'm going to show you has a man. His name is Jim Rickards. He is a currency expert. Jim Rickards is an American lawyer, investment banker, media commentator, and an author on matters of finance and precious metals. Born in September of 1951, he's the author of Currency Wars: The Making of the Next Global Crisis. That was in 2011. Let's get right into this video, guys. Listen to what he says. It's very, very important. Around 3/4 of the way through, he's going to mention something important that I'm going to point out a little bit later for you. Let's get into this, guys.
I was having dinner with a friend not long ago in New York City. We met at a place called Oriole, which is in Midtown. My dinner companion that night was a senior advisor to BlackRock. As you may know, BlackRock is now the largest asset manager on the planet. It directly manages $5 trillion in assets, and it oversees another $11 trillion through its Aladdin platform. That means one firm controls more money than the GDPs of China, Russia, and Japan combined. Anyway, my dinner companion happens to work directly for BlackRock's CEO. As we nursed our white wine and the evening wore on, she let something slip. If I remember her words, she said something like, "They want to tell us we can't sell." What was she talking about? Who was she talking about? I placed a few calls, first to my contacts in Washington, then to a few people on Wall Street. Soon I was on a plane for a series of meetings to London, to Geneva, back to New York, then down to South America. As I began connecting the dots, a pattern emerged. It revealed a network of more than 189 individuals positioned inside the world's major financial institutions. Some of them hold senior positions inside the IMF, World Bank, and every central bank in the G20, including our own Federal Reserve. These elites share one vision, and they're about to make it a reality. That vision is one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. They've worked for years behind the scenes preparing to realize that vision. They've literally rigged the laws of international finance. Everything is basically in place right now, and there's essentially no way to stop this from happening. When the crisis hits, they'll flip the switch, freezing the global financial system. That will give them time to reset the world economy according to their vision. As the coming crisis unfolds, President Trump will be powerless to stop it. In fact, trying to stop them would probably weaken the president's power altogether.
That is amazing, Jim, really. So what did these elites want from your contact at BlackRock?
Basically, they want to classify BlackRock as too big to fail. The technical term is Systemically Important Financial Institution, or SIFI. That designation normally applies to banks, such as Bank of America. If your bank gets the SIFI label, it means the government will bail you out first in a crisis. But it also means you must turn over control of your bank until the crisis subsides. In this case, they're trying to reclassify BlackRock, an asset manager, as too big to fail. If they succeed, they'll be able to freeze BlackRock when the crisis hits. BlackRock clients won't be able to sell. They won't be able to buy either. Their accounts will go dark indefinitely, and the elite operatives will take control of BlackRock's assets remotely via the internet. But our research shows that their ICE 9 plan goes much, much deeper than that.
Now, you refer to their plan as ICE 9. You just said that. What does that mean?
It's a reference to the Kurt Vonnegut novel, Cat's Cradle. In the book, a mad scientist creates a new form of water molecule called ICE 9. When it comes in contact with other water molecules, it freezes them at room temperature. One drop of ICE 9 can freeze the whole ocean. And that's what these elite operatives are about to do to the world economy.
Now, can you share with our viewers exactly who these operatives are and what their ultimate goal might be?
Like I said, John, more than 189 elite agents have slowly wormed their way into leadership positions across the board. They now sit at or near the head of the IMF, the World Bank, and even our own Federal Reserve. They also control much of what happens at the central banks of China, Russia, India, Brazil, Canada, and Europe. As you know, these institutions form a kind of global superstructure. It forms a kind of snare net encircling all nations. Their leaders aren't democratically elected. They're not accountable to you and me. They're beyond the reach of government and citizens, and yet they hold the fate of the global financial system in their hands. To get a sense of how they operate, imagine an array of floating spheres. One sphere is labeled IMF, one is labeled Fed, one is labeled Bilderberg, one is labeled Wall Street. one is labeled central banks, one is labeled intelligence agencies, one is labeled media, and so on. The elites inhabit all of these spheres, and together the network forms a kind of 3D Venn diagram. As I see it, regardless of what sphere they inhabit, the elites all share the same vision: one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. All of their actions are geared toward moving that agenda forward.
Now, are you able to share the identities of these elites with our viewers?
We've identified more than 189 individuals who are in many cases hiding in plain sight. Regardless, they all share the same vision: one world order, one world taxation, and one world money. A short list would include Christine Lagarde, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, IMF; Mark Carney, Governor of the Bank of England; Raghuram G. Rajan, Vice Chairman of the Bank for International Settlements; Haruhiko Kuroda, Governor of the Bank of Japan; William C. Dudley, President of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York; Agustin Carstens, Governor of the Bank of Mexico; Janet Yellen, Chairman of the Board of the Federal Reserve System; Mario Draghi, President of the European Central Bank; Zhu Min, former Deputy Managing Director of the IMF; Zhou Xiuquan, Governor of the People's Bank of China; Robert E. Rubin, Chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations. This A-list of central bankers and other elites is just the tip of the iceberg. Of course, not one of these elites will tell you outright what's going on, but I've seen and heard enough to connect the dots for myself. Not long ago, for example, I met with one of their senior operatives. He's a leading economist who served as the chairman of the Federal Reserve during the last crisis. He's considered one of the most influential minds in banking today. We met privately during a conclave in Seoul, South Korea. Of course, I'm talking about Ben Bernanke. I came away from my meeting with him stunned and convinced that ICE9 was real. Not long before that, I set up a one-on-one meeting with another member of the network. His name is Zhu Min, the former deputy governor of China's central bank. Until recently, he served as deputy managing director of the International Monetary Fund. Zhu is a brilliant guy, like Bernanke, and he's pleasant and well-meaning. There's no doubt in my mind that he's also a member of the elite network preparing to impose ICE9 on millions of Americans. But I wasn't done with my research. I have since met with dozens of senior officials, intelligence analysts, and former Wall Street colleagues. My quest led to a final meeting, a face-to-face summit with the head of Bilderberg. We met at Rockefeller Center in Manhattan, and he was very eager to get my take on the euro as a currency. I was happy to provide it, of course, in exchange for some valuable intelligence. As I say in my new book, he did not have horns. In fact, he gave me a nice gift when we parted ways, a blue Swedish vase. I keep it in my writing studio at my home in Connecticut. But my point is, I came away from all three meetings convinced of one thing. When the next crisis hits, the elites are planning to freeze the financial system, and they'll replace it with a new system, one not based on the US dollar. When that happens, we'll wake up to a very strange and disturbing new reality.
And for our viewers that are watching today, what might their reality look like that morning? How does this manifest?
First, they'll have gone to bed knowing that a massive financial crisis was underway. But when they wake up, they'll find it has worsened and the contagion has spread worldwide. When they go to withdraw money, their ATM will say, closed temporarily. When they go to sell stocks, their account will say, transaction not available. When they go to their local business, that business will only accept cash if it's open. As citizens realize they're being borrowed from their money, riots will erupt. It's going to get really bad really quickly.
How would such a freeze actually work? And wouldn't that be highly illegal?
Well, it wouldn't be illegal technically because they've been quietly laying the groundwork for years. They've rigged the financial laws, changed the rules of the game to allow this to happen. The stage is set. They have the levers in place. The lights are positioned. Now someone just needs to flick a switch and they'll impose ICE9 rapidly. And again, all of this will be legal because they've rigged the system in their favor. Here in the U.S., for example, Congress pushed through something called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA. This allows the government to freeze accounts, assets, even whole institutions at will. The only condition is that there's some threat to national security with a foreign connection. Of course, with a global market, every financial crisis has a foreign connection. Any systemic crisis fits the bill. And the thing is, when the next crisis hits, it's going to be so bad, President Trump won't have any choice but to go along with the elite plan.
Again, remember that.
Wow. That is, you have to admit, that sounds somewhat hard to believe. Now, how could these operatives actually freeze a whole country's financial system?
Well, fortunately, we have some recent real-life examples to study. The elites have been conducting a series of dry runs for years, leading up to ICE9. Look at Cyprus, for example. A few years ago, the Cypriot economy was in trouble, especially the banks. The IMF stepped in and loaned Cyprus $10 billion, but the loan came with strings. Now pay attention because this is precisely what they're going to do. But imagine it on a global scale. So in exchange for the capital injection, the IMF demanded control over the Cypriot banking system. More specifically, the IMF froze the entire system, literally every bank in the country. And they did that to ensure the IMF's demands were met, including strict capital controls. So how did all this impact regular citizens? Their local ATMs went dark. Even the bank branch was closed, permanently in some cases. Citizens could not withdraw cash. They couldn't even transfer funds from one account to the other. What came next? Wealth extraction on a grand scale. The IMF basically stole 6 to 10% of all the cash in the Cypriot bank accounts. How did the elites justify this? They called it a levy, the price regular citizens had to pay for their government's missteps. Keep in mind, these asset confiscations were done at the balance sheet level with the institutions themselves. They never had to confiscate individual accounts. They froze every account by controlling a handful of the country's biggest banks. When the next crisis hits, we're going to see this here in the US and around the world. And it'll be a highly coordinated global attack on the entire system simultaneously. The US.
Alright, guys, pay attention to that. So, you heard him
I was
mention
having dinner
President
with a
Trump
friend not
in
long
there
ago in New York.
twice, as a matter of fact. This video came out on August 20th, 2022. 2 years ago, guys. And he mentions President Trump. How was he president in 2022? He wasn't. But he is now. Was there a plan in place already? Did they know he was going to be president? Did they plan for him to be president? And check this out. Only 12.6 thousand views from 2 years ago. Alright? Behind closed doors, underneath everybody's eyes, they're planning something huge. Now, this article I'm going to show you is from Business Anthropology, Inc. Alright, and this was posted April 10th, 2022, a few months before that. And in here it says, Ice9 and the Global Reset, When Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. Talks about the Cat's Cradle, the book that he was talking about. It's also the foundation element of business anthropology. Talks about what is Ice9 in the novel and how it works. You heard him talking about it a little bit. Coming down a little bit farther, it talks about the transition into the quantum financial system, blockchain and ledger technologies, digital and cryptocurrencies are in full swing. In order for this new system to be embraced, for the global reset or great reset to take hold, the old financial system must be destroyed. Going down a little bit farther, it says right here, the global elites and part of this transition, it has been alluded to by Klaus Schwab and will be crystallized in his upcoming book called The Great Narrative. Instead of reliquefying the world, elites will freeze it. The old system will be locked down, its vulnerabilities and obsolescence on full display. The language of money, our financial system itself, is based around water. Business anthropology has gone into great depth outlining this. To summarize, think about terms like cash flow, bridge loan, liquidity, revenue stream, a bank. Think of the cryptocurrency XRP. I've been talking about that a lot, guys. Defined as a bridge currency from a parent company, Ripple, or in decentralized finance, liquidity pools, water flows, bridges go over water, streams flow into banks, etc. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about Ice9 here and the financial panics of what's basically to come when this happens. It says right here, the quarantine is just around the corner, consists of the temporary and, in some cases, permanent closing of traditional banks utilizing SWIFT in its current permutation, halting stock and commodity markets, money market funds, shutting down ATMs, and ordering asset managers not to sell securities. They have already scripted and put Ice9 into effect. This will quarantine your money by locking it inside the existing financial system until the contagion subsides. You heard him talking about that. Go down here a little bit farther. It talks about the Cyprus banking crisis. Alright. It also tells you about the quantum financial system. Going down a little bit farther, it talks about one solution to Ice9 asset freezes is to hold God's currency, that is gold and silver coins. Cash or fiat money is dangerous. With that said, it is better for you to transition or convert your cash into the future global assets and reserve currencies within crypto, but not Ethereum or Bitcoin. That is what the globalists want you to funnel your money into, so they have complete control over you. Obtaining cash and coins will allow you to survive ICE 9 bank account freezes. Going down a little bit farther, it says eliminating cash helps the suppression of alternate markets. Cash is dirty, it transmits disease, it's bad for the environment. Coins are disgusting, they cost more to produce than they are worth, etc. During the stay-at-home campaigns, we saw globally both cash and coin shortages. Very true. Second reason eliminating cash is necessary to improve negative interest rates. Central banks are in a losing battle against deflation. They are in a losing battle against decentralized financial environments and cryptocurrency. The DeFi environments today, from Osmosis Zone to Uniswap, Compound Finance to Curve DAO, they offer APRs that are beyond the realm of comprehension. To entice people over into this new world, APRs and APYs that are over 50% to as high as 175 are fairly commonplace. It won't be like that forever, that's for sure, guys. Make sure you get into it now. This goes on a little bit farther, a little bit down, talking about the network and everything that they're planning on doing. It says the savers are the cattle before cattle are led to the slaughter. They are herded into pens so they can be easily controlled. To freeze cash and impose negative interest rates, savers are being herded into digital accounts at a smaller number of mega banks. The four largest banks in the United States, for example, Citi, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, are bigger than they were in 2008. These four banks were originally 37 separate banks in 1990, were 19 separate banks in 2000, and what is called too big to fail, we've heard that before, in 2008 is much bigger today. Going down a little bit farther, it talks about in order for the elite plan to work, it must be applied and spread to everything, even social norms. Hence, you hear the phrases build back better. Where have we heard that before? I believe that came from President Trump. Is he one of the elites? Beginning to wonder myself. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I'm going to leave a link for this in the description down below, guys, for you to check it out. And you can read it for yourself. It's a little bit longer and very detailed about what's going on. And we're going to cut this video right here, guys. I do have some more things coming up with XRP, a couple charts to show you, and some interesting, very, very interesting price predictions. If you guys like the video and you made it this far in the video, please like, share, subscribe, and leave some comments down below. Thank you guys, and have a good night.